Research suggests that communicating virtually differs in important ways from communicating face-to-face and can produce quite different outcomes. For example, in the 1960s, Stanley Milgram ran a series of famous experiments. A man in a white lab coat stood over each subject and ordered them to continue an experiment in which they thought they might be hurting or killing a person in the next room. In fact, both the scientist and the other participant were confederates of Milgram's, and the sounds coming from the next room had been pre-recorded and always played in a fixed sequence. To Milgram's horror, 2/3 of the subjects complied with everything they were asked to do, administering what they believed to be increasingly high-voltage shocks. But when the man in the lab coat was placed in another room, speaking through a telephone, compliance rates went way down. Meeting face-to-face can be advantageous. Research tells us that on average, negotiators achieve better results and feel greater warmth and trust towards their counterparts when they meet in person. And when seeking to make decisions together, virtual groups rate their interactions and outcomes as less effective and less satisfying than groups meeting face-to-face. Interestingly, for better or worse, we express complaints and criticisms more easily and often by email than we do in person. On the other hand, studies show that virtual communication can increase misunderstanding. For example, we overestimate how well our email messages have been understood by recipients, and we are worse at reading others' emotions when communicating by email. To be more successful when communicating and negotiating virtually, 4 simple steps can help. First, schedule briefer meetings. The gaps, glitches, and time lags in virtual interactions are taxing to our brains, which means that cognitive performance deteriorates more rapidly during virtual communication. Second, use bigger screens whenever possible. Research suggests that negotiators communicating by video perform better than negotiators using email or texting, and those using a large screen get better outcomes than those using a small one. Third, take time at the start of a meeting to briefly connect. In negotiations by email, subjects who were instructed to make small talk before negotiating were found to achieve better financial and social outcomes than subjects who dove right in. And finally, while it can be useful to have tools for chatting with teammates offline, keep chatting brief. In one study, negotiators who multitasked on a smartphone achieved poorer results and were rated as less professional and less trustworthy by their counterparts. We can't always meet in person when communicating or negotiating, but remembering these 4 rules of thumb for virtual interactions can help us to improve both results and relationships.